Hello, this is TelecomTV reporting from Broadband World Forum 2016 here in Excel in the London Docklands, and I'm talking with Sanjay Bhatia, who is Vice President Solutions Marketing at Genband. Sanjay, good to see you again.
Thank you, Martin.
We
Likewise.
meet in different parts of the world. This time it's London.
Yes.
Who knows where next? Anyway, let's get into it straight away. Tell us about Genband's position on NFV, because we can talk around what's happening in NFV in more detail in a moment. But where do you sit in the entire NFV ecosystem, as it were?
Absolutely. So, Martin, where we sit in the NFV ecosystem is we are kind of in the virtual network functions layer. So we have different virtual network functions or applications like session border controllers, media software. Are a couple of the examples of virtual network functions that we bring to market with our ecosystem partners. And so that's where we sit in the broader NFV ecosystem.
How important are your ecosystem partners in the way you work?
Oh, extremely important, right? One company or one vendor cannot do this entirely by themselves. And so it's very important to be, part of larger ecosystems and have partnerships. So we work with the likes of Intel Network Builders, HPE, Wind River, and many others as part of our broader NFV ecosystem.
Okay, Sanjay, can I ask you a more generic question about NFV and its abilities in terms of what a network can do and so on? Is NFV, as it's being said it is, a key enabler of things like IoT and also 5G? Is that an important area or two important areas for NFV, or are they generally peripheral to it?
Oh, no, that's a great question, Martin. So, with the fundamental premise of providing 5G and IoT services requires a core network that's very elastic, cloud-based, ubiquitous, and so by definition, the standards are working on the creation of a new core network that is built on the cloud principles, and that entails basically NFV SDN. Having said that, the current networks also require NFV SDN based applications, right? So things like virtual CPE, virtual IMS are examples of areas where we're seeing a tremendous amount of engagement with our service provider customers on deploying NFV and SDN for those applications for existing networks.
Okay, thank you. Can we move on to services then? Because a lot of talk about what are going to be business drivers for the Transform network. What services do you see as being exactly that? Business drivers for network transformation and investment in higher speed next networks, as some people now call them.
Yeah, so the drivers, certainly the current drivers seem to be areas where there is clear-cut business cases behind them, right? Just one example is virtual CPE. We're running into that as a company with our service provider customers is in the area of SIP trunking and providing enterprise session border controllers from the edge of the networks rather than on premise. And that there's clear business cases associated with not having to run truck rolls to the premise, which costs hundreds of dollars or pounds, right?
Yeah.
And so there, those are the type of point applications that we're seeing today. Another example is in the mobile core and the edge using virtualized session border controllers for IP interconnects and things like that, right? So we're seeing a tremendous amount of interest and engagement for deployments in those areas. Moving forward for next generation networks like for 5G and IoT, clearly it's going to be about providing full-blown ubiquitous connectivity for all the devices, and where we, Genband, comes into play is we provide the real-time communications aspects of IoT with our Candy cloud communications offering.
This is Candy with a K, I've seen it written down.
That is exactly right, that's Candy with the K, yes.
What does it do?
Well, what it is what Candy is it's a cloud communications platform that any service provider can take and bolt onto their network via SIP trunking or via NFV and OpenStack. And what it does is basically enable a full-fledged communications capability, including voice, video, messaging, chat, collaboration capabilities and APIs associated with those. So any given service provider can take those APIs and create new services out of them, or they can consume our prepackaged Candy services called Candy wrappers. Yes, exactly. And these are prepackaged applications that we've created that are very easy for service providers to take to market. Extremely easy to deploy and very much creating a value add for new revenue for the service providers. So those consume our own Candy platform APIs and we've built these prepackaged applications. On top of that, we also offer full-fledged turnkey applications for unified communications and collaboration or for consumer-based services.
Last question to you, Sanjay. What role do you think vertical markets are going to play in shaping this new transformed network of the future?
Oh, that's another great question, Martin. So vertical markets are extremely important. In fact, Genban, we play in many of those vertical markets like government, public sector type of areas, higher ed, healthcare. And so there's tremendous amount of use cases for embedding communications into different vertical workflows. And so there's tremendous amount of engagement and opportunity associated with tying real-time communications into those existing workflows. And that's where Candy comes into play and enables the seamless integration of communications into those embedded workflows.
Excellent. As usual, Sanjay Bhatia, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Martin.